"Get off the dance floor, you disgrace," one man shouted, his champagne glass shaking from laughter. "She moves like a broken puppet," another woman sneered, fanning herself with a golden clutch. In the grand ballroom of Lagos's most luxurious hotel, Ojali stood frozen, her face burning red. The chandeliers glittered above her, their light bouncing off diamond necklaces and silk gowns. But all she felt was humiliation. The music had stopped, the DJ lowering the volume as people pointed at her. Ojali had dared to step onto the marble floor, joining the other women who swayed with elegance. She wanted to prove she could belong. Instead, her body betrayed her, jerky steps, stiff arms, no rhythm. She had tripped over her own gown and stumbled into a waiter carrying a tray of cocktails. Gasps filled the room as crystal glasses shattered, staining the floor with red wine. That was the end. The insults poured in like daggers. She shouldn't even be here. Look at her dress, cheap as her moves. Whose village girl cousin let her in? She dances like someone fighting demons. Ojali's throat tightened. She had dreamed of this night for months. Her chance to shine in the city, to prove she was more than just the poor girl who had grown up watching others live the life she longed for. But in one moment, it all turned to dust. She forced herself to bow her head, gathered the edges of her simple gown, and hurried off the dance floor. Behind her, the music started again, the wealthy guests laughing, twirling, and gossiping about the girl who dared to dream too high. At the edge of the ballroom, Ojali leaned against a pillar. Tears pricked her eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of these people. "Not here. Not now," one woman whispered loudly as she passed. "If that's dancing, then I am the Queen of England." The group erupted in laughter. Ojali could no longer breathe. She turned, her heels clicking on the marble, and pushed through the golden doors into the night. The city's cold air hit her face, but it felt better than the heat of their mockery. As she descended the steps of the hotel, she told herself something she didn't believe. This is not the end. The city lights glared like jealous eyes as Ojali walked away from the ballroom. Her heels clattered against the polished stone steps before meeting the slick pavement outside. The night was alive with the hum of luxury cars pulling up, their engines purring like lions waiting for their masters. Chauffeurs opened doors for women draped in silk gowns and men in tuxedos that cost more than her entire year's rent. No one noticed her leaving. No one cared. She was just the girl who ruined the dance floor, the joke of the night. Her chest heaved with each step as she clutched the folds of her modest dress. The thin fabric did little to shield her from the cool wind sweeping through the streets. Neon lights from high-end boutiques flickered across her face, mocking her with glittering displays of gowns she could never afford. Every word from the gala echoed in her mind like curses. She dances like someone fighting demons. Village girl. Cheap. She kept walking, her shadow stretching thin beneath the street lamps. Around her, the city roared with wealth. Towering skyscrapers with glass walls, rooftop bars echoing with laughter, fountains spraying into the night sky. But Ojali moved through it all like a ghost, invisible to those who belonged. Her heels ached. The straps dug into her ankles, but she didn't stop. She was too afraid that if she paused, the tears pressing at her eyes would spill out. She remembered how, back in her small village, she had never been good at dancing. At weddings, other girls twirled gracefully, their feet tapping the drum's rhythm. She instead moved awkwardly, out of time, always the one laughed at. She thought coming to the city would change that. She thought maybe here, no one would notice her flaws. But the city was crueler. She turned down a quiet avenue lined with luxury cars parked in front of a club where music thumped through the walls. She peeked briefly inside through the glass doors. Women moving like rivers, hips swaying, arms floating. They looked like goddesses. Her chest tightened. She wanted to be like them, just once, without shame. The tears finally fell, hot and heavy, streaking her face. She quickened her pace, hoping the darkness would hide her weakness. She wished she could rip off her heels, but pride forced her to keep them on. Her path led her past the city's famous fountain at the square, its marble sculptures glowing under floodlights. Couples posed for pictures, laughing, while tourists tossed coins into the water. Ojali paused for a moment, her reflection rippling in the pool. She barely recognized the girl staring back at her. Eyes swollen, makeup ruined, lips trembling. She whispered, almost to herself, "Why did I even try? Why do I keep thinking I can be like them?" The fountain water gurgled, mocking her silence. The city felt too big, too unforgiving, swallowing her whole. She clenched her fists, took one last look at the glittering ballroom lights in the distance, and walked deeper into the quiet streets, further from the laughter that haunted her. Little did she know, her life was about to change in ways she could never imagine. The fountain stood at the heart of the square, its marble figures frozen in eternal dance, water spilling like liquid silver under the streetlights. Ojali slowed her steps as she drew near. The square was quiet now. The tourists had left, and the lovers had vanished into waiting cars. Only the soft rush of water and the hum of the city in the distance remained. She sat on the stone edge, her heels dangling above the pool. For a moment, she let the cold spray cool her tear-stained cheeks. She had no reason to rush home. No one was waiting for her in her tiny rented room with its single window and flickering bulb. As she gazed at the water, something caught her eye. A small glimmer moved beneath the surface, flickering like a trapped star. Ojali leaned forward. It wasn't a coin, nor a reflection. It was alive. At first, she thought it was just a fish, but the longer she looked, the more unusual it appeared. Its scales shimmered with colors she couldn't name, flashing gold, emerald, and sapphire all at once. Its eyes, dark and round, held a strange intelligence, as if they were studying her back. The fish darted, then suddenly thrashed violently against the glass wall of the fountain. That was when Ojali noticed it. Someone had dropped a small glass bowl into the pool, and the fish was trapped inside, fighting for air. Her heart tightened. She looked around the square. No one else was there. The wealthy men and women who had been sipping champagne nearby earlier were long gone, probably off to another gala. They must have left it behind, not caring if the creature lived or died. Without thinking, Ojali slipped off her heels and climbed down, her feet splashing into the shallow fountain water. The cold made her gasp, but she pressed on. She reached for the bowl, her fingers trembling as she lifted it out. Inside, the fish flapped desperately, its scales glowing even brighter under the city lights. "Easy, easy," she whispered, though she knew it couldn't understand her. She set the bowl gently on the fountain's edge and tipped it, allowing the fish to slip back into the open pool. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the fish swam in a perfect circle, shimmering brighter than before, almost as if it was bowing in gratitude. Ojali blinked. She had never seen anything so beautiful. The creature lingered, its tail slicing through the water like silk. Then, with one powerful flick, it vanished into the depths of the fountain, leaving only ripples behind. She stood there, barefoot, her dress damp at the hem, staring at the water. It felt strange, almost as though something had shifted in the air around her. The square seemed quieter, heavier, as if the city itself had paused to watch what she had done. Ojali shook her head. "You're imagining things," she muttered. But as she slipped her heels back on and walked away from the fountain, a strange warmth tingled through her veins, spreading from her chest to the tips of her fingers. She didn't know it yet, but the simple act of saving that fish had tied her fate to something far greater, and far more dangerous, than she could ever imagine. That night, Ojali lay in her small apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling. The city outside was never quiet. Horns honked, laughter floated from rooftop bars, and music pulsed faintly from distant clubs. But inside, her world was heavy with silence. She could not stop thinking about the strange fish and the shimmer in its scales. Eventually, exhaustion pulled her under. At first, she thought it was only another dream of humiliation, of the ballroom replaying over and over. But then the scene changed. She found herself standing barefoot on the shore of a vast ocean, the moonlight spilling across the water like a path of silver. The air smelled of salt, and the waves whispered secrets she couldn't quite understand. "Ojali!" The voice was soft, musical, like water flowing over glass. She turned, and her breath caught. From the waves rose figures unlike anything she had ever seen. Tall, elegant women with flowing hair the color of midnight and seafoam, their gowns glittering like pearls. Their eyes shone with unnatural light, and when they smiled, it was both comforting and unsettling. "Who are you?" Ojali asked, her voice trembling. The women moved closer, their bare feet leaving no trace on the wet sand. "We are the daughters of the deep," one of them said, her voice echoing like 1,000 seashells. "We are the keepers of rhythm, the mothers of dance. Every sway, every beat, every movement of beauty, you have us to thank." Ojali stared, unable to speak. Another of the women stepped forward. "You touched one of our children tonight. You saved the golden fish." Her knees weakened. That fish?" The women nodded. "It was no ordinary creature. You have shown kindness where others would show cruelty. For that, we have given you our gift. Gift. The mermaids joined hands and began to move. Their bodies swayed like rivers, every turn of their hips, every gesture of their hands so fluid it seemed impossible they were human. The sand beneath them shimmered as they danced, and Ojali felt her own body stir in response. Her heart raced to their rhythm, her feet tingled with strange energy. You will dance as we dance, the leader said, her voice sharp with both warning and promise. Your movements will command attention. No one will laugh at you again. Ojali's eyes widened. Truly? You mean, I will be like them? The women in the city, so graceful, so admired? The mermaid smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yes. But listen well, child. Do not speak of this. Our gifts are not for human envy. They are for the chosen, and the chosen must keep silence. Break this, and you will invite the wrath of the sea. Before Ojali could answer, the women began to hum. The sound was soft, yet it vibrated through her bones. The ocean waves rose higher, swallowing the sand around her feet. She tried to scream, but water filled her mouth. She jerked awake in her apartment, gasping for air, her body drenched in sweat. The city noises had returned, faint but real. She pressed a hand to her chest, her heart still racing. It was only a dream. Or so she thought, until she stood, stretched, and felt her body move with a grace she had never known.